Thanks for tuning in. Welcome to Epik Creations Portrait Therapy. This is where I will share more of my content, future content, and I'll also be sharing some of my tips, tricks, and some photography hacks where you guys can use this and incorporate this into your own style of photography. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to show you guys a very unique and powerful technique that was shown to me a while ago, and I thought it would be great if I can share this with you guys so you guys could possibly take this and use this on your own photos. Okay, so for a lot of you who know my particular style of photography, I am a flash photographer, so therefore there's not really much color grading to be done. However, there is a lot of skin editing so that we can get that nice, smooth, and silky, buttery skin, and that's what I'm going to show you guys how to achieve today, and that's known as frequency separation. Okay, and I'm going to show you guys that shortly, but before we actually go there, this is a before picture of Miss Jada. Thank you for being here today with us, Jada. I will link her information in the video where you guys can follow her on Instagram and on Facebook. And so, as I've mentioned, for the sake of simplicity, I have already color graded this photo in Adobe Lightroom. And so what we're going to do now is we are going to migrate this photo over to Adobe Photoshop. And let's just let it load up. Okay, so what we're gonna do now is I'm gonna create 2 layers, and if you're not sure how to do that, it's Control J on your keyboard or Apple J if you're a Mac user. I'm gonna rename this layer texture. You don't need to do this, but this is for the sake of you guys being able to follow me. I'm just gonna rename them. Actually, let's call this skin smoothness. Okay, so first things first is I'm going to deselect the 3rd layer, the texture layer. Let's go down to where it says skin smoothness, and I'm going to go in just a little bit closer to her face, and then we're going to go to where it says filter, blur, and Gaussian blur. Okay, so here where it says pixels, when you enter a numeric value, whether it's 1, 2, or 3, as the values go up higher, basically I'm applying more blur to the photo, and that's what's going to allow you to that's what's going to tell you how much blur that you want on the skin or how smooth you want it to be. And how do you know basically how much blur to apply? Well, you basically apply enough blur to the point where you can no longer see texture in her face anymore. So it's slowly getting there. I can still see texture. I say 7 is pretty good. And now what we're going to do is we're going to hover over the 3rd layer now and go to where it says normal, and we're going to hit linear light. Okay, and now make sure you're hovering over, or you have the texture layer selected. We're going to go over to image, and we're going to go to where it says apply image. Okay, and so here where it says layer, we are going to select where it says skin smoothness, and then where it says blending, we're going to move this down to subtract. Okay, make sure your values are set to what I have here, scale to offset 128, and leave it at 100 opacity. Okay, all right, so this is where the skin retouching begins. So we're gonna go back to, we're not gonna worry about texture yet, I will cover that a little bit later. We're gonna go to where it says skin smoothness, and we're gonna select the lasso tool here. Okay, and whenever I use this technique, it's basically trying to even out shadows, or if you just want, you know, skin to just look buttery all over, you can use it. But for the sake of this video, we're not gonna do too much. I'm just gonna show you guys kind of like the basics of what I do. Okay, so as you can see here, there's uneven lighting on her forehead, so we're gonna go to where it says blur, Gaussian blur, and we're going to select a certain value that's gonna blur the skin enough where it's not overkill, but we can still have what is it? We still have a little bit of texture in the skin, but at the same time, you can see a lot of her imperfections will start to disappear. And by entering a numeric value here, as you can see, it's now blurring out basically whatever it is that wasn't there before. Okay, this is a great way to get rid of wrinkles, shadows, and whatnot. Okay, all right, and so this is what it looks like now. And for the next part, we're gonna go down here. I'm gonna select the shadows on this part of her face. Okay, I know that she has these little bumps here. Don't worry about that. I will show you guys what to do once we get over to the texture layer. And again, I have this part of her, whoops, let's do that again. I have this part of her face selected because that's the next part that we want to blur. We're gonna go down to where it says blur, Gaussian blur, and instead of 20, let's go down to 15. I think that's good. All right, can you guys see a difference already? If not yet, then just give me a sec, okay? Now what we're going to do is I'm going to go over to this side and I'm going to select these part of the shadows in her face. And we're going to do something very, very similar, okay? And we're going to go to filter, blur, Gaussian blur, and look at that. We're going to leave it at 15. 15 is a good amount of blur. Wow. I can already see slight changes already. Alright, and for this part, it's not really necessary, but since we already started it, I'm going to apply just a little bit of blur on this side of her face. Just a tad bit. Okay. And then we're going to go to filter, blur, Gaussian blur. Instead of 15, I'd say let's do a smaller value like 12. 12's good. Alright. So I've pretty much covered majority of editing her face. You can also do the same things with her hands, her arms and whatnot, but for the sake of keeping this video short, we're just gonna edit the face. And if you want, you can do the same thing as what I did in the face to arms, legs, whatever. You guys get the picture. We're gonna go over to texture now, and this texture layer is basically responsible for allowing us to get rid of these slight small little imperfections, acne, pimples, or whatever. Jada already has some pretty good skin, so we're just gonna make some minor adjustments. And how am I doing this? Basically, you're gonna go over to the clone stamp tool and you're gonna select this here, or you can just press S on your keyboard. And then what we're gonna do now is we're gonna sample nearby textures, and then we're gonna brush it over basically these little spots here. And how do I do that? As I said, go to a spot that you want and you're gonna hit Alt, and then it's gonna copy that particular texture, and now you can just brush it over that. Okay? And the reason why we do that is because we don't want to sample like some part over here and then do that, because then it's not gonna look at that. Can you guys see? It looks really, really fake, and we don't want to do that, so let's undo that. We want to sample someplace nearby. See, look at that, perfect. You can't even tell anymore because the textures are very, very similar. We always try to use neighboring skin textures so that whenever we're trying to skin correct, we don't get anything that looks really bizarre or it looks completely different. So we could probably go at this all day, but you guys get the picture. If there's any acne, any whiteheads, blackheads, pores, whatever it is that you guys don't like, you can use this very unique technique to kind of even out the skin and get that nice smooth buttery skin, as I mentioned. Okay, look at that. All right, can you guys see the difference? Oh, you know what, let's go back down here. I'm just gonna apply just a little bit over. Ooh. I'm gonna hit the lasso tool. I'm just gonna select this part of the face. There we go. And same thing, filter, blur, Gaussian blur. Okay, and let's set it to 15. Wow, look at that. Okay, you guys probably can't tell the difference, so let's go ahead and merge these all together. Alright, and now what I'm going to show you is this is basically the final edited version of this photo. This is the before, after, and after. Actually, you know what? Let's go ahead and let me bring this back into Lightroom. So we're gonna hit Control W, we're gonna hit save, and what that's gonna do is it's gonna bring this back into Lightroom. And what I want to do is I actually want to compare the two photos side by side so you guys can actually see it on here, and we're just waiting for it to migrate over. All right, okay, so this was the before picture and this is the after. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna hit C. All right, so this is before, this is after. Can you guys see that? Wow, look at that. Is there a way for me to zoom in a little more? I think I can. There, ooh, too close. Look at that, guys. Do you see how powerful frequency separation is? It will allow you to acquire this nice, soft, and silky skin. Anyways, that's gonna be all for today. Thank you for tuning in. I hope that helped you guys. Again, this is gonna be the first first episode of Epik Creations Portrait Therapy. Hopefully you guys like, share, subscribe for more future content, and I will see you guys in the next video.